I'm going to show you guys step by step how I made this cedar wood cross. Here you can see all of the materials I'm going to be using for this build, with the main ingredient being this scrap piece of cedar. First I'm just finding my center mark and splitting it on the table saw here. And after I finish this cut, I run the widest piece back through one more time just to make sure they're both completely the same. Now to find my center marks, I bring out my caliper to find the width of these little planks. And somehow, even with this being a scrap piece from who knows what, it seemed to be almost perfectly square. Now that I got my width, I just chop that in half. Once I get my caliper down to about half of what the width is of these planks, I stab in my caliper to make a mark at halfway. To make the joint on this cross, I'm going to cut a slot half the width of these planks, so that way when they go together it should be perfectly flush. Here I'm making sure my table saw and my slider are square, and here I'm carefully getting my blade to the right height to cut just how much I want out of these slots. With my square I get my piece of wood where I want it and then make my mark. And for the horizontal piece of the cross, I am doing the same. Now it's time to make these rip cuts. First, I expand my marks a little bit higher on the board so that way I can see them while I'm working. And to avoid as much tear out as possible, I'm adding some masking tape on the back side of these planks where the blade will be passing. Since I don't have a dado blade, I just make as many passes as I need to for this slot to be wide enough. And here I'm clamping this piece down so that way I can use my hand plane to get some decorative edges on this thing. I'm just by hand guessing about like a 30-degree angle, making a few passes for the depth that I want, and I just try to do the same on the other side. now to pre-drill out my holes to add my hardware. I'm going to be using a drill bit that is just slightly smaller than the threads that I'm going to be putting in the nail tips. Now I'm just taking a bit of wood stain and a paintbrush and adding a little bit of stain around the nail on the cross, just as a more graphic demonstration of the pain that Jesus went through dying for our sins on the cross, because really he did more than die. He suffered a lot of mortal pain, all for us. Now it's time to get this thing glued up and clamped.